Yes. Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to see everyone here, and I want to greet everyone out there, the thousands, the millions, for all I know. We have, Lisa, you're invaluable. We have tonight a celebration. We lost Jackie Mason a few weeks ago. He passed away, and he really was one of the great comedians of all time, in a way that very few others are. I certainly can't even imagine doing anything as wonderful as he did. I actually met him once. I actually met him in Florida. We were walking along, and he was there, a couple of people, and he was, behave yourself. He was very suspicious. Julie said to me, "It's Jackie Mason, go talk to him." So I said, well, she said, go on. So I went up to him and I said, "Excuse me, are you Jackie Mason?" And he said, "Why? Who wants to know? What? Very, very, very suspicious. So I said to him, "I want to tell you that when I was an undergraduate, a friend came in with a tape. They said, you have to listen to this recording. This man is a genius. He's a comic in America. He's a comedian, and he's a genius." I said, "I listened to that, and I've heard you in Chicago, and I've heard you in New York." And he said to me, "Well, what are you, a lawyer?" I said, "No, I'm a rabbi. I'm a rabbi of a conservative synagogue in Skokie." He said, "I just appeared in Skokie. Place, what's it called? Centers." I said, "Center East." I said, "I was supposed to come, but someone got sick. Are you appearing here?" He said to me, "Is it true?" He said to me, "Why would you care? You didn't come to see me in Skokie." He said, what do you think? Different furniture? So he said, and then he said, "By the way, this friend who says I'm a genius, how do I contact him?" So then we talked a little more, and we asked him if he could give an autograph for a friend of ours. He said, "A friend?" He said, "This friend, he's a man of means. He gives a couple of dollars to your shul." Anyway, it was an exciting meeting. But the thing was that he was funny like that. It was instant. And there was something about him that was very, very funny. His main skill, which set him apart from other comedians, was the possibility of setting up an argument and then taking it on and on and on and on to its logically absurd conclusion. And I'm surprised you didn't laugh at that, because I asked you before to laugh at everything. No, it's okay. I cannot do, I don't want to steal his routines. I mean, stealing is bad enough, but from someone who's not alive, it's terrible. So I will tell you something he said about being in the hospital. It's one of the last things that he did. He said, "I went to the hospital." He said, "We thought it was something serious. Thank God it wasn't. The nurse came over. I thought she was going to help me. She gives me a long thing to fill out. She tells me to fill out this form. You think it's going to ask you how you're feeling with them? No. She says, they ask you all kinds of things. Do you know, they ask me, what is your mother's maiden name? What difference does it make a difference? Have you applied for a job? You said you can be president of the United States. You can join the FBI. You don't have to know your mother's maiden name. Nope, they want my mother's maiden name." He said, "You know, a fellow came into the hospital. He didn't know his mother's maiden name. They threw him out." Anyway, and then he said, "It's impossible." I'll tell you what else they ask you. Every time they ask you, "What is your height?" What's that got to do with it? And if I'm the wrong height, he can't cure me. If I'm the wrong height, and what is your eye color? You have to have a certain kind of eye color. He said, another thing, they have to give you something. They have to give you something. You go up to a woman and they say, "You have to have an enema." Everyone has to have an enema. You have to have an enema. She said, "I don't want an enema." He said, "You have to have an enema." "What are you here for?" "To see my sister-in-law." Anyway. Now, this is not mine. This is Jackie Mason. That's my tribute to him. I'll give you what I have. Nothing I've made up. It's stuff that basically, occasionally I made up certain things. For example, last week, I had to change my phone. Why is this making such a rumble? Is it coming through, Bill? Yes. So put on the non-rumbler on the computer, please. So it says, I was sitting, changing my phone. I changed phone companies. And, you know, you sit there for hours. I mean, literally hours. And the man said to me, he said, you know, you're very patient. It's funny, he said that was just 10 seconds before I hit him. That's mine. The rest, stolen. All stolen. I'm proud to say. Who was it? The comedian used to say, he said, these jokes are mine. He said, I paid for all of them. Well, I didn't pay for them. I got them free. I stole them. I don't know if you ever heard this. There was a Jewish man. You've never heard a joke that begins that way. There's a Jewish man who got very, very wealthy, vastly wealthy. Is it still rumbling and bumbling there, Bill? Oh, yeah, go on. But, okay. There's a Jewish man. Can you hear me still? No, now you can't hear me. You can hear me. He can't hear me. Look, either get hearing aids here. What's it? Yeah, have you got a clue? It's that thing, but it won't stay on, you see. I know, I understand, but it won't stay on. Let's try. Is this any better? Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Well done, Ron. Thank you. Thank you. Wait. A Jewish, don't get excited. A Jewish man, I'll tell you this story. I'll do a Jackie Mess. I'll tell you this. If you're not busy, I'll tell you this. So a Jewish man becomes very wealthy, and he doesn't want to be Jewish anymore. He's had it. He's had it with that. You're not going to laugh at this, but don't worry. He's had it, unless you force yourself. He's had it. He's built himself a palatial building. He hires an architect to design all these people. Or what's his name? Jackie Mason would have said, an architect, a designer, incredible. Anyway, he hires all these people, and he doesn't want to be Jewish, which, given his accent and his nose, was rather a difficult task. Anyway, he says, listen, what can we put up in this palace? He said, art. You need art. Art. What's this? What's art? Paintings. Paintings. I don't care. He said, listen, I want you should buy me the best paintings. Money is no subject. So his English was as good as his Judaism. Anyway, and he says, tell me a painter. I don't care. We'll pay whatever the cost. He said, Rubens. No. Too Jewish. No. Who else you got? He said, well, there's someone called Goya. He said, that's the one. So I'm glad you came. It's nice to see you. I have some other things here. If I can, yes. You know about, now I'm moving up. I started with a Jewish man, now we've got a Jewish couple. They were married 47 years, but they never got along. One day, it's around this time of year, one day he says to her, so I suppose you'll be wanting a Hanukkah present. He said, I suppose you'll be wanting a Hanukkah present. He says, Harry, I want a divorce. He says, I wasn't planning on spending that much. Let's move along quickly. A priest, we're getting onto those. A priest, a minister, and a rabbi die. And God gives them each an extra 72 hours on earth. The priest goes to see the Pope. The priest goes to the Pope. The minister goes to the Archbishop of Canterbury. And the rabbi goes to the Mayo Clinic. Don't ask me why. I don't understand it either. So at this point, Jackie Mason would look at someone and say, you're still waiting for the comedian to show up, huh? There's a fellow called David Klein. David Klein. I understand you've got someone called David Klein at work, yes. But this is a different one. Although maybe, listen. This David Klein, you don't have to nod or say anything. This David Klein thinks he's Napoleon. And he goes to a psychiatrist, he goes to a psychologist, he goes to a shrink. And the shrink says, you're Napoleon? He said, yes. He said, how do you feel? He said, great. He said, my armies have conquered much of Europe. They brought civilization to all these places. I'm very popular. He says, well, what problem of yours has brought you to me? He says, not my problem. It's my wife. He said, what? What's the matter? She thinks she's Mrs. Klein. I don't know. I thought that was very funny. Never mind. There's a little girl. She goes to a wedding, first wedding with her mother. She says, Ma, why is the bride dressed in white? Why is the bride dressed in white? She says, well, white is the color of happiness, and today is the happiest day of her life. She says, oh, so why is the groom dressed in black? You know, the police have exams, you've heard of that, and during the exam, the policeman was asked, what would you do if you had to arrest your own mother? He said, I'd call for backup. Anyway, I don't know, I've got these stories which couldn't really happen in a Hebrew school. Maybe, you know, it's more likely to happen in a Sunday school of a church. This teacher has taught them the 10 Commandments. She's going over them and she says, you remember this one? She says, honor thy father and thy mother. Now, she said, is there a commandment that teaches us how to treat our brothers and sisters? And one kid puts up his hand and says, yes, thou shalt not kill. I thought we were doing better than that. Come on. I'll give you a groaner now. We need some of those. Which country's capital has the fastest growing population? Ireland. Every day it's Dublin. Great. Do you know my ex-wife? Don't worry, there isn't one. I don't think so. Oh my God, no, never mind. My ex-wife still misses me, but her aim is starting to improve. There's all these horrible ones. You know, I stepped on a scale this morning. It said, please practice social distancing, only one person at a time. This is one for you, this is one for Robert, and one for Ron. I saw an ad for burial plots, and I thought, that's the last thing I need. Anyway, last year, you know, someone was saying, when this quarantine is over, let's not tell some people. Now, I want you to imagine there's a Jewish hotel, a flea bag hotel in Warsaw in the 1920s, and the guest complains to the manager in the morning. He said, you know, he says, it's amazing. It's amazing. In Warsaw in 1920, speaking English in a Jewish hotel. I don't know why. He says, I had 2 dead bugs in my bed. And he said, such a fuss over 2 dead bugs. He said, listen, you should have seen what a funeral they had. Anyway. Believe me, please believe me, it's hilarious. So this guy is in a hospital. I'm back to hospitals now. We've come back from death. And he's pacing back and forth. Then his wife says, what's the matter? Why are you getting so worked up? He said, I heard one of the nurses saying, it's a very simple operation. Don't worry. I'm sure you'll be all right. He said, she was just trying to comfort you. What's so frightening about that? He said, she was talking to the surgeon. Oh, you have it fair too. You know, I hate it. I really hate it when someone said, I really hate it when people act all intellectual and talk about Mozart and they've never even seen one of his paintings. Oh. Now, there was I'm going as fast as I can here. There was a 60-year-old millionaire who was getting married to a gorgeous 23-year-old beauty, an absolute beauty. And one of his friends says to him, how do you do it? He said, I faked my age. He said, how much? I said I was 87. See, Julie didn't like that one. You see, you never know. You never know. Now, so I don't know if I've ever used any of those before. This man says to his friend, so you won the argument with your wife yesterday. Yes, she came crawling on her hands and knees. Really? What did she say? Come out from under the bed, you coward. Oh, yes. I've got to be careful. I'm saying the ark is only slightly open. This shadchan, what's a shadchan? A matchmaker. It's not a shotgun, it's a shadchan. Matchmaker says to this fellow, he's a confirmed bachelor. He says, don't wait too long. I've got exactly the one you need. Just say the word. You'll be married in no time. He says, don't bother. I have 2 sisters at home who look after all my needs. He said, well, that's well and good, but I mean, all the sisters in the world cannot fulfill the role of a wife. He said, I said 2 sisters. I didn't say they were mine. You're doing wonderfully well. Yes. Now I was in a public convenience. Do they say that here? It's public convenience? Public WC, public toilet. In England, it's called a public convenience. And I heard a voice from the next stall. It said, hi, how are you? I was embarrassed. I said, I'm doing fine. He said, so what are you up to? He said, I'm just doing the same as you. I'm sitting here. Can I come over? I said, look, I'm rather busy right now. Then I heard, listen, I'll have to call you back. There's an idiot in the next stall here answering all my questions. Yeah. Someone asked an old man, look, even after 70 years, you still call your wife darling, honey, love. What's the secret? He said, I forgot her name. I'm scared to ask her. Here, this is for you. This is for you. I've forgotten your name. No, this lady here. Elaine, sorry. The defendant has been found guilty and the judge is just about to pass sentence. And the judge says, wait a minute. Haven't I seen your face before? He says, you have, Your Honor. I gave your son violin lessons last winter. He said, ah, yes, 20 years. Yes. There are 2 stories about someone coming into a store and finding the manager there. One of them you've heard from me before. It's thoroughly tasteless, which is why I love it. A pharmacist comes into his store and he sees the manager, but he sees a man leaning against the wall. And he says to the manager, what's going on with him? And he says, well, he came in earlier. He's got a bad cough. And we're all out of cough syrup, cough medicine. So I gave him a bottle of X-Lax. He said, you know, X-Lax doesn't cure a cough. He said, oh no, look at him. He doesn't dare cough. And then, and then there's this man who comes into his clothing store, and his manager's there with a huge bandage on his arm. And before he can ask him what the bandage is for, he says to him, great news. He said, what? He said, you know that hideous suit that we couldn't get rid of? I sold it. He said, my God, that thing with purple and pink. And oh, God, how did you do it? It's fantastic. What's the bandage? He said, well, after I sold it, the customer's seeing eye dog bit me. Some people are offended by it. I don't know why. The coach called out one of his 9-year-old baseball players. He says, do you understand what cooperation is? What a team is? Yes, coach. I'm sure you know that when an out is called, you shouldn't argue, curse, attack the umpire, or call him insulting names. Do you understand all that? Uh-huh. And when I take you out of the game so that another boy gets a chance to play, it's not good sportsmanship to call your coach dumb or stupid or worse, is it? No, coach. Good. Now go over there and explain all that to your bubba, your grandmother. I'm working hard. There's one of these wonderful events, a widower and a widow, they've known each other for years, and they have the 64th school reunion. And he's dancing with this woman, and he plucks up his courage and says, will you marry me? And after about 6 seconds, she says, yes, yes, I will. Next morning, he can't remember, did she say yes or no? He's got a phone number, he calls, he says, listen, I don't remember as I used to. When I asked you to marry me, did you say yes or no? Oh, you silly man. I said, yes, yes, I will, and I meant it with all my heart. And I'm so glad you called because I couldn't remember who asked me. Yeah, there's a priest who came to a rabbi. I should really have a violin. Who's the comedian who always held the violin here? No, Henny Youngman, yes. Priest says to the rabbi, listen, this whole neighborhood's had burglaries. It's been awful, absolutely awful. There's hardly a day passes when someone in my parish or myself doesn't have a burglary. But I've noticed something. I've noticed that none of the Jewish houses has been burglarized, or as we say in England, burgled. None of them. And I've noticed something else. You've got these little things on the side of the door where you come in. He said, are they there to protect you? He says, well, he says, I want one of them. He says, I want one of them. So he gives it to him. You know, the fellow looks in pretty bad shape. Anyway, he comes in 2 weeks later. He looks even worse. And he says, what's the matter? Are you still getting burglars? He says, no, worse. Schnorrers. Yes, this one I like, but I don't know if you will. You know what Eve once said to Adam? What do you mean the children don't look like you? Think who was around. Think who was around. So I actually told this story at a wedding at the Art Institute, because there was a man, a Jewish man, who was he was retired. He was bored out of his mind, and whatever job they found him, it didn't work. So finally, they said, "Listen, we got a job for you at the Art Institute. You'll put on a uniform. And you'll just show people, say, here are the Chagall windows and so on. Let's see." So they go back after a week. And he's very happy. They're surprised. He says, how's it going? He says, great. He says, I sold 3 already. This I know you know, and therefore I will repeat it. A Japanese man comes home to his wife, and he says, honorable wife, I hear you have been having an affair. Oh, no, honorable husband, not true, not true. He said, what is more, honorable wife? I hear it is with a Jewish man. Oh, no, honorable husband, definitely not true. Who has been telling you these bubba-mices? Do you remember when this fellow, in shuls, now it's, we ask for money, but in the old days, it was much simpler. It wasn't letters. On Yom Kippur, in the evening, people would tell how much they're going to give, and the shamus, the beadle, the gabbai, would announce, not the shamus, the gabbai would announce, Chaim Goldzweig, $10, Moshe Pipik, $15, David Feigenbesserbaum, $20, and so on. There's one synagogue that was kept going by one man who every year gave $10,000 anonymously. So the announcements would go, $10,000 anonymous, Chaim Goldzweig, $10, Moshe Pipik, $15, Chaim Goldzweig, I can't even remember his name, $20. One year, someone else got into the act and donated $2 anonymously. So the shamus, the Gabbai gets up and he says, $2 anonymous. Immediately, the $10,000 guy jumps up and says, I want you all to know that's not my anonymous. So far, so good. If you disagree with anything I say, that's fallen off again. Yeah. Ron, where? Oh, here it is. This thing does not stay still. This is an anti-Semitic cover. Okay. Yes. Well, I have to say a few words about Florida, land of COVID safety, great driving. Yes. This couple are getting married in Florida. They go to a drugstore. Excuse me, they say, you sell heart medication? Of course. For circulation? Yes. For rheumatism? Yes. Suppositories? The best. Memory problems, arthritis, Alzheimer's? Yes. Vitamins, sleeping pills, Geritol? Yes. Heartburn, indigestion? Yes. Wheelchairs, walkers, canes? Yes. Adult diapers? Yes. Why? We'd like to use this store as our bridal registry. Yes. I'm always embarrassed to tell ones I've told before. I'm told that people do laugh again. I've actually asked you to. There's a drunken man, not Jewish, of course. A drunken man sits smelling of booze. He sits down next to a priest, and he looks awful. His tie is stained, his face is plastered with red lipstick. There's a half-empty bottle of gin sticking out of his torn coat pocket, and he starts reading a newspaper. And he looks to the priest and he says, Father, what causes arthritis? Has it fallen off again? Yeah, that wouldn't work. There's something wrong with this thing. What causes arthritis? Now you just hear my fingers. What causes arthritis? He says, my son, arthritis, it's caused by loose living, being with cheap, wicked women, too much alcohol, contempt of your fellow man, consorting with prostitutes, and not taking a bath. He says, oh my gosh. The priest feels bad. He says, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to come on so strong. How long have you had arthritis? He said, no, it's not me. I was just reading in the paper that the Pope has it. I thank you, those who laughed. Again, yes. All right, things are falling here. Okay. This fellow, used to be you couldn't get into Gentile country clubs, golfing clubs, if you were Jewish. Now, sometimes it's the other way around. There's a Jewish golf club. This fellow wanted to join. His name wasn't exactly a Jewish name, O'Malley. So he asked somebody, he said, what do I do to get in? He said, look, I'll tell you what you do. First of all, lose that name. Your name's Goldberg. He said, if they ask you, what do you do? Say, I'm a talus maker. He said, don't worry, just do that, you'll be fine. And he comes in, he's looking around, he's scared to talk to anyone. And someone comes around, he says, hey, how you doing? He says, fine. I haven't seen you before. What's your name? He says, Goldberg. He said, oh, what line of work you in? I'm a talus maker. He said, oh yeah. Hey, I've always wanted to know, what are those words on the collar? He says, I know, we just make the sleeves. Oh, yes. If I ask you here how many have heard me, then the answer is most of you. So I can't ask the people out there because they can't respond. So I have to, I just have to keep going and, hope that you've forgotten everything I've ever told you. You know about the little Catholic boy who says to little Jewish, says to the Jewish boy, my priest knows more than your rabbi. And he says, of course, you tell him everything. Yes. This doctor, he is a man in Israel. The doctor comes to the doctor and the doctor examines him. He says, how old are you? He says, I'm 75. He says, I've never seen a man of 75 so healthy. He said, that's all my wife's doing. He said, we had an agreement, we got married. If one of us starts shouting, starts yelling, the other one shouldn't reply, should just go out into the street, not respond, go out into the street. He said, well, he said, if you spend 50 years in the fresh air, you're bound to be healthy. Okay, you're doing well. we had a story in this synagogue many years ago. I've quoted it before and I'll quote it again because it's absolutely true and it happened back there. Some of you remember Uncle Zalman, Louis Kalevsky. He got really mad at me one day. I'm sorry, he didn't get mad at me. He got mad at someone else. He came running up to me and he said to me, "You speak to him. No intelligent man can speak to him." Now, the thing is, I said, something about humor, there's economy in that, because with a single remark, he's insulted two people. We had this is a risky one to tell, but I'm going to tell it anyway. About, the two Jewish men who walked past the church. How many of you know this? Seriously, tell me if you know this. They walked past the church, and it says $1,000 if you convert to Christianity. Do you know this? No, that's very good news. And I'm not going to tell you. No, I'll tell you. It can cause offense, so I'm definitely going to tell you. So one fellow says, I'm going to use an English word now, not an American word. I'm skint, S-K-I-N-T. What does it mean? Broke. Skint is English for broke. I'm broke. I've got to go and do this. He goes into the church, comes out half an hour later. He said, "Did you do it?" He said, "Sure." He said, "Did you get the money?" He says, "That's all you people think about." Yes. How many people here understand Yiddish? Don't all shout at once. 1, 2, 3. Not a minion, and we don't have a minion. I'm going to tell you these. You've heard some of them before, but this is for the thousands out there who are not as well informed as you. Please don't be insulted out there. Sorry? Fellow? This thing is... I've got it. I have it. I don't think it'll help. No, I don't think that'll help either. It's more fun this way. I need the exercise. But thank you anyway, Jennifer. Sorry, but thanks anyway. I've forgotten what I was going to tell you. I've forgotten what I was going to tell you. Yeah, that doesn't help. I've forgotten my own Yiddish. Yes. I'll tell. I don't know. No. I know. No, it's no good. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. I'm very absent-minded. I don't know what I'm doing here. But yes. Okay. Here we'll start. Ashrei ashrei beitecha. Everyone. Thank you. We got some responses. You see. Yes. Well, it'll come. This guy was a favorite waiter of Mendel. He was a waiter, and he dies. And the customers go to a medium. They miss him so much, and they switch the lights out. Everyone puts their hands on the table, and there's a rustling noise, and then they see this figure of Mendel, the waiter, walking near the ceiling. He's walking. They say, "Mendel." No answer. "Mendel." No answer. Mendel, after about 6 times, finally saying, "Mendel." He says, "Yes." He said, "Why didn't you answer before?" "You wasn't my table." Some habits die hard. All right. Yes. Now there was someone's telling this woman. He said, "My daughter's getting married." He said, "Oh, really? To whom?" He said, "The chief surgical resident of the University of Chicago." He said, "Wait a minute. Wasn't she married to a professor?" "No, that's her previous husband. He was a law professor at Yale." "Wait a minute. Why do I seem to remember a psychiatrist?" "That was the first husband, Saul, a very prominent analyst." He said, so much nachas from one daughter. There are 1 or 2 I really can't tell in front of the ark, so we're having a secret meeting at the back afterwards. This is an old one. So old. I don't know why. I don't know who wrote this down. Oh, it was me. Okay. A woman goes to a dentist for a clean, and the man says, I have to remove 6 teeth. She says, I'd rather have a baby. He says, look, make up your mind. I'll have to adjust the chair. Anyways. There's another one. I hope there are no official representatives of the Catholic Church listening. This is the one about the fellow. He was a seminary student. He's going to be going to rise in the Catholic Church, and he would love to meet the Pope. Actually, let me go back now. No, it's not the Yiddish one. This is the one I heard from someone in the shul who's not here tonight. He's probably listening. You've heard of a stolen joke. This is a stolen joke. A fellow, he's at the barber. Not me. He's at the barber. And the barber says, where you go? Are you having a haircut? You going away? He said, yeah, where are you going? Rome. He says, oh, God, don't think of it. Rome, crowded, packed with tourists, can't do anything. How are you going there? American Airlines. What? The worst. The American Airlines. He said they stuffed us. They lost our tickets. They put us in the back near the toilets. Where are you staying? The Hilton. The Hilton, in the basement. In the basement they put us. Where are you going to visit? The Vatican. You can't see anything. It's crowded. It's overcrowded. You don't get to see anything anywhere. 3 weeks later, the guy comes back. He says, how'd they go? Oh, fantastic. American Airlines, they messed up our tickets, so they put us in first class. This is the only exercise I've had in years. Goes in first class. Goes in first class. Behave yourself. Anti-Semite. Behave yourself. Oh, I mean, no. And we went to the hotel, the Hilton. They messed up our tickets. They gave us the honeymoon suite. We overlooked the whole of Rome. It was beautiful. We went to the Vatican. As we were walking through, someone comes out of a little door and says, you know, His Holiness, he said he wants to meet people. Come in. He said, you know, I'm a Catholic. I went in with my wife. It was fantastic. I kneeled down in front of the Pope. I kissed his hand. You know what he said to me? He said, what? He said, where'd you get that lousy haircut? Right. I see some people know that. Sorry, I can't help it. Yes. All right. Now I remember this. These are ads for a shidduch. Shidduch means a match, right? You've heard them before. You can laugh again. Even I laugh again. Jewish businessman, 49, manufactures Shabbos candles, Hanukkah candles, Havdalah candles, Yahrzeit candles. Seeks non-smoker. Couch, listen carefully, couch potato latke. In search of the right applesauce. Let's try it for 8 days. Who knows? Female graduate student studying Kabbalah, Zohar, exorcism of Dibbuks. Seeks mensch. No weirdos, please. Divorced Jewish man seeks partner to attend shul with, light Shabbos candles, celebrate holidays, build sukkah together, attend brises, bar mitzvahs. Religion not important. Shul Gabbai 36. I take out the Torah Saturday morning. Would like to take you out Saturday night. Yeshiva Bacha Torah scholar, long beard, payas, seeks the same in woman. Matzah supplier 53 seeks cloth bag manufacturer. Let's play Heidi Afikoman. Anyway. Yes, there was a school, not this school, it wasn't the Hebrew school here. There's a Hebrew school, but they had secular learning as well there. And the teacher asked one of the students, who wrote the Gettysburg Address? Kid put up his hand, not me. Teacher goes mad, calls in the parent and says, listen, I asked who wrote the Gettysburg Address. I have it wrong, but it doesn't matter. Let's change that. We'll start again. It's no rush. It's a Hebrew school. Who knocked down the walls of Jericho? It's better. Not so goyish. Who knocked down the walls of Jericho? He says, not me. They call him in. They call in the parents, the father. He says, I asked who knocked down the walls of Jericho. He said, not me. He said, listen, I'll tell you something. I have to tell you about my son. He's honest. If he said he didn't do it, he didn't do it. So then the principal goes to the chairman of the board of trustees of the synagogue, wealthy man. He says to him, Mr. Binter, you must be aware of the above incident. Someone said, he said, I know. Yeah, he said the walls of Jericho. He's not me. He said, listen, I'm a busy man. Get the wall fixed and send me the bill. There's such a thing as too much exercise. No, I'm not. You're right. Yes. This didn't happen with me. You all know about, there's some difficulties sometimes. This actually did happen here. There was a gentleman sitting here. I just finished speaking, and I called him to the Torah. He was a Cohen. No, it's not the Cohen that we have now. It's someone else. Some of you know him. And he didn't respond, and he's not young. And I dashed down there, and I shook him. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, I fell asleep. And I said, look, don't worry. I do that to a lot of people. It was really true. And I mean, there is a story, apparently, it's a true story about a fellow, not in the shul, who's over there, and the rabbi's speaking, and he's not only sleeping, he's snoring. And the rabbi says to the shamus, go and wake him up. He says, you put him to sleep, you wake him up. And he says, no, you've got to wake him up. He goes up to him and says, hey, shakes him. He says, what's the matter? He says, you're asleep. You're snoring. He said, I paid for this seat. I can do whatever I like. He said, you don't understand. You're snoring so loud, you're waking up everyone else. Yes. Then there's a story, I don't know which way to tell this, about the man whose wife died. We've got a lot of these here, but we have representatives of the industry, so I wanted to include them. This man's wife died, and they're carrying, I don't think this ever happened with any of the Chicago firms, although you can correct me. They're carrying the casket along. It's a couple of guys carrying the casket. And as they're carrying it along, there's a loose paving stone, and the front one trips, and they drop the casket. And they hear knocking from inside. And they open it up, and she's alive. The doctor made a mistake. She'd fallen into a coma, and they thought she was dead. So she comes back and lives with him again. And 5 years later, she dies. She really dies. And they put her in the casket. And again, they're carrying the same area. And as they come to that place where this thing happened the first time, he says, boys, careful now. Last time happened here, a nasty accident. Anyway. Tasteful. I only the best taste. There's one Groucho Marx told, so that's Jewish. I mean, he was Jewish. Groucho says, the old ones are the best. The old ones are the best. He said there's an actor who's out of town, and he's lost his voice. He can't speak. He's going nuts. He's got to appear that evening. So he's looking around. He's never been in this town before, and he sees a sign that says "Doctor." It's where the doctor's office is, and his house is, his residence is there as well. And he rings the doorbell, and the doctor's wife comes out, and he says, "Is your husband in?" And she looks around and says, "No, come in." Sorry. Yes. There's another one about the Pope, but this divinity student wants to meet the Pope in St. Peter's Square. Wants to meet the Pope, never met the Pope. His greatest wish is to meet the Pope. So he goes to Rome and he sits there, and there are a bunch of people sitting in the middle there, St. Peter's Square. And to his amazement, one of them is a Hasidic Jew, a chassid with long beard, payas, long black coat. And as soon as the Pope comes out, and these people all stand up, and the Pope goes right over to him and talks to him, and he thinks, now I know how to meet the Pope. So he rushes into town, and he buys himself a long black coat, a fake beard, fake payas. I was in Rome, I looked for fake payas, and I couldn't find it in a single store, but he found them. Now, if you ask me why did I look for fake payers, I haven't the faintest idea. Anyway, and the next day he sits dressed up this way in this row, and the Pope comes out and they stand up, and sure enough, the Pope comes right over to him and says, "I thought I told you yesterday to get the hell out." Gives me a break too. Yes. Yes. You know, the three rabbis talking, so they have this, in this area they lived, they said they got a problem. They have mice in the shul. I hope we haven't had any mice in the synagogue. And he said that the rabbi says, you know, this shamus sets all kinds of baited traps. They keep coming back. And the second rabbi says, yeah, the same problem. We spend a fortune of geld on exterminators, no good. And the third rabbi says, an hour before the services, I placed a big wheel of yellow cheese in the center by the bima. Soon hundreds of mice appeared on the bima and headed for the cheese. While they were feasting on the cheese, I gave them all a bar mitzvah. I've never seen any of them in shul again. Yes, you remember the Jewish man who gets knocked over in an accident? He's lying there, and a priest comes over and says, "Do you believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost?" He says, "I'm dying, and he's asking me riddles." I'm trying to think. Yes, I'm trying to think which. Oh yes. So this could also be in Florida. This woman. I want you to know this was all rehearsed before. It's timed. I've got a little string here, I pull. Yeah. She says to her neighbor, I see you're having a party. She says, "How do you know? What are you? Sherlock Holmes?" I said, "Sherlock Holmes is the name." "Yes." No. "I see you have a band coming. You have a caterer. What's happening?" She says, "Well, my sons are coming home." "Oh, wonderful. Where have they been?" "They've been in jail." I said, "Oh, they've been in jail. How long has it been?" She says, "It's been 8 years." She said, 8 years, yes, I remember. "Wait a minute. They got 15 years. She said, "Yes, they got 7 years off for good behavior." She says, "What a nachas to have two such well-behaved boys." Have you heard all my tailoring ones? Have you heard those? You probably have. But anyway, this is these guys. This fellow goes to get his suit. I know you've heard this one. I don't care. He goes to get his suit. The tailor has made the suit for him. He tries it on. The tailor takes one look. He says, "Perfect." He says, "Mr. Meshiga, are you crazy? Perfect." He said, "Look here, this shoulder. Look at it. Look, it hangs." He says, "Excuse me, sir, please don't get excited. Let me show you." He said, "What about here? Here, the jacket and the trousers." He said, excuse me, sir. If you just stand like this." He said, "But what about the legs? They're too long." He said, "So if you just move your knee forward." So he walks out of the store like this. And two doctors happen to be walking down the street, which is very unusual because usually they drive. Two doctors happen to be walking down the street and they see him. One says to the other, "Oi, Nebuch, a cripple." The other one says, "Yes, but doesn't the suit fit nice?" And then this is sort of naughty one about a Jewish man gets, Mr. Goldstein, he gets a letter from his insurance company. He says, "On Monday morning at 9:30 a.m., you insured your factory and all its contents for $1 million. That was at 9:30 on Monday morning. At 11 a.m. on Sunday morning, your entire factory burned to the ground. Can you explain the delay?" Never mind. Never. Some of you speak Yiddish, I know. Can you explain the delay? Oh, gewalt. Okay. I'll tell it in Yiddish. There's a gewinn amul ayid, was het gehad ta fabrik. There was a Jewish man who had a factory, and he gets a letter from the insurance company saying, on Monday morning at 9:30 a.m. Come on, you're not kidding. On Monday morning at 9:30 a.m., you insured your factory and its contents for $1 million. On Monday morning at 11 a.m., your entire factory and its contents burned to the ground. Can you explain the delay? I will say no more. Okay. Remember about the dog in shul? You remember that? We've had dogs in this shul. Man brings a dog to shul. The shaman says, you're not bringing this dog in here. He says, please. He says, no, it's forbidden. He says, I'm telling you, it'll behave well. It'll amaze you. This dog will amaze you. He says, there's nothing doing. He says, look, please. It's all right, I'll tell you what. You can bring the dog in. You bring the dog in. But if there's the slightest bit of trouble, the dog never comes in again, and you are never allowed in this shul again. Okay. The dog comes in with a man. He gets on his hind legs, and he reaches for a yarmulke, and he puts a yarmulke on. Then he gets a talus, and he doesn't just put the talus around him, he kisses the tzitzis, and they hear him muttering, "Uf, uf, uf, lisate but tzitzis." Then he sits down with everyone else, and they give him a siddur, and he opens the siddur, and he starts following. He doesn't just start following. Before the shamas can call out the page number, he's got, woof, woof, page 83. He's saying, woof, 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 amen. It's unbelievable. At the end, the shama says to him, I'm so sorry, it's amazing. I've never seen it like it. You should go on the stage. He said, you speak to him. I tell him that. He wants to be a doctor. This is a story which I'm told is not Jewish. I wish it were Jewish. There's a story from the Soviet Union in the 20s and 30s when they had this terrible famine that wiped out millions of people. And someone from the Kremlin, from Moscow, goes to the kolkhoz, the communal farm, the collective farm, and of course they're terrified. And he sees the head of the collective farm and he says, Tavarish, comrade, how is the potato crop this year? And the man says, Tavarish, Commissar, the potato crop this year is so big, if we piled the potatoes up here, remember it's the Soviet Union, we piled the potatoes up here, the pile would be so high it would reach up to God. He says, Tavarish, there is no God. He says, I know. There are no potatoes either. I always wanted that to be a Jewish joke because it's very clear, but it isn't. I've never been in a golf club. I certainly haven't been in a golf club. I did give a speech in a golf club actually. They're in the locker room and a cell phone on the bench rings, and a man uses the hands-free speaker and says hello, and she says, "Honey, it's me. Are you at the club?" "Yes, I'm at the mall and I found a beautiful leather coat. It's $1,500. Can I buy it?" He says, "Sure, go ahead if you like it that much. I also stopped by the Mercedes dealership and saw a beautiful model, one I really liked. How much? 60 grand. Fine." She says, "Great. One more thing. The house we wanted last year is back on the market. They're only asking $3 million. He says, "Go ahead and buy it, but just offer less." "Okay, see you later. Bye. Love you too." And he hangs up. The other men are looking at him. He says, "Anyone know who this phone belongs to?" It was me. It didn't belong to me. I mean, I was the other guy. Yes. This you've heard again and again, and now you're going to hear it again. The Frenchman says, "I'm tired, I'm thirsty." I'm tired, I'm thirsty, I must have wine. The German says, I'm tired, I'm thirsty, I must have beer. The Jew says, I'm tired, I'm thirsty, I must have diabetes. That's what being Jewish means. You know, what's the word for a German Jew? It's known in Israel more than here. Yekke, yes. Yekke is a German Jew. Very, very precise, very punctilious. Everything has to be exactly right. Very literal minded. So a Polish man meets a Polish Jew meets a German Jew. This is before the war, obviously, and he says to him, "How many eggs? Wie viele Eier können Sie auf dem nüchternen Magen essen? How many eggs can you eat on an empty stomach?" I'm sorry, the Polish Jew says to the German Jew, "Wie viele Eier könnt ihr essen auf einem nüchternen Magen? How many eggs can you eat on an empty stomach?" And the German Jew says, "I don't know, maybe 3." He says, "No, you can only eat one. Once you've eaten one egg, your stomach isn't empty anymore." He says, "This is a very good joke. I have to remember this." He gets back to Germany, calls over a friend, says, "Fritz, come here, komm mal hier. Sag mal, wie viele Eier kannst du auf nüchternen Magen essen? How many eggs can you eat on an empty stomach?" He says, "Maybe 6. He says, "A shame. If you had said 3, I could have told you a good joke." The IRS shows up at a shul. That's all we need. He says to the rabbi, "Do you have a Morris Goldstein here?" He said, "Yes." "Did he give $500,000 to your building fund?" The rabbi says, "He will. He will." Think about it. Yes. A Protestant, Catholic, and Jewish woman die. Oh, I'll tell you this one. You won't like it, but don't worry about it. A priest, a minister, and a rabbit. A priest, a minister, and a rabbit enter a bar. The barman says to the rabbit, "What will you have?" The rabbit says, I'm not really here. I'm just here because of autocorrect." Never mind. Anyway, so think about it. Yes. I had one about bombs on planes, but since 9/11, I haven't been telling it. Can I tell it now? Yes, okay. So there's someone who's terrified of flying. Goes to a statistician and says, "Listen, I'm terrified of flying." They say it's irrational. They say I'm neurotic, but I'm frightened. So what are you frightened of? "I'm frightened there'll be a bomb on the plane." "What are the chances of there being a bomb on the plane?" And the statistician looks it up and he says, "Let me tell you something. The chance that there's a bomb on the plane is 1 in 200,000. But my advice to you is take a bomb with you, because the chance that there are 2 bombs on the plane is 1 in 20 million. Yes, there was, I think people who teach probability and statistics should use that example. I'm quite serious. Yes, I found it, I lost it, I can't find it. Yes, couple come to a rabbi, want to get a divorce. He says, "You want to get a divorce?" He said, Don't you know? He says to the husband, to the wife, but mainly to the husband. He said, as a folk gets if a couple get divorced, he says, the angels weep. He says, "Sie weinen." He says, "On sie weinen, ich will gehen tanzen." Let them weep, I want to dance. Anyway, so he said, "But tell me something, you have children?" He said, we have children. We have children. "How many?" He says, 3. 3, wait, you have 3 children? 3 children, what are you going to do? You'll take 2, you'll take 1, you'll take 2. Go back together. Maybe you'll have another child. You'll have 4. You can split them up 2 and 2. Go. Geges hinterher. They're on their way out. The husband turns around and says, "Oy vey, Rabbi, I just had a thought." He said, "What? What if we have twins?" The wife says, The Große Knacke. He said, if I'd waited for him, I wouldn't have had these three. Anyway. Thank you. Thank you. How am I doing? What's the oh, you know about this lady? This is years ago. There was a couple in Chicago, actually. They were getting on in years, and the wife said, you know, if one of us dies, I'm moving to Florida. Think about it. Think. I was in Milwaukee many, many years ago. This is true. This is a half true story. I was in Milwaukee many years ago, and I was asked to do the service on Shavuos, which is a very long service. And it was in an Orthodox, an old age home, an Orthodox old age home. So you have to imagine the women are at the back. Here are the men. Here am I with my back to the congregation. They don't hear very well, and there's no microphone. After the first day, a lady comes up to me and says, we couldn't hear anything. We couldn't hear anything. We couldn't, oh, here it is. This is just to give people a rest. Right? We couldn't hear a thing. We couldn't hear a word. So the next day I cried, I screamed, I yelled, I was sweating, my throat was aching, and I saw her afterwards. I went up to her. She didn't seem to know who I was. They were of a certain age. And I said to her, could you hear me? She said, this is true. She said, what am I, deaf? Then I said to her, how did I do? She said, I hope you won't mind my saying. She said, the cantor yesterday was better. Anyway. You know about this very Orthodox Jewish man with a long beard who goes down, business takes him all over the United States, and he goes to Alabama. And all these little kids are yelling at him. They've never seen anything like this. With a big beard. He looks at me and says, what's the matter? You never seen a Yankee before? Well, I say, I'm listening. This side is doing very well, I want to tell you. Yes, in the Gemara, it doesn't quite say this, that there's, that the sin of eating chametz, when you're not supposed to, is akin to the sin of adultery. And I know someone who I told him this, and he said to me, I've tried them both, and I don't see the comparison. Yes. There's another, no, I can't do that one. Yes. There's, you know, we have flags here, but, you know, in some shuls, they have memorial plaques outside, a lot of them with American flags. And a little boy says to the rabbi, what's this? And he said, it's a memorial to all the young men and women who died in the service. And he says, what, Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur? Naughty. Yes. Another Jewish man who they all buy these fantastic homes with 50 rooms. He gets a local workman to decorate, and he buys 50 mezuzahs and asks them to place them on the right-hand side of each door diagonally, except the bathrooms and the kitchens. Or maybe the kitchens they should have. And you say, by the way, and afterwards the man does, he says, by the way, I took out all the warranties in the little boxes and left them on the table for you. I'm not keeping time. Is anyone keeping time? How long have we got till? I don't know. How long have I gone? I don't look, because this mum will think. And now for me, I see. Then there was this. This is a true story. This really is a true story. I met someone in London, and she introduced me to a boyfriend. I hadn't seen him in a long time. I had never met the boyfriend, and I said to him, "Where are you from?" And he said, "I'm from what was called Czechoslovakia." So I said, which town? And he said, you won't have heard of it. And I said, try me. And he said, Teplitz, T-E-P-L-I-T-Z. I said, it's right next to a town whose German name is Turn, T-U-R-N. He said, how do you know? And I said, there was a man who came to our synagogue years ago, and he once left his siddur, his prayer book, in the synagogue, which he'd had from before the war, and there was a name stamp there, his name and his address. And at the bottom it said Turn Teplitz, Turn-Teplitz. He said, what's his name? He might be related to me. I said, I don't know if you want to be related. I said, he's a real mumser. He said, that's the one. case you don't know what a mumser is, that's the one. Is there anyone who doesn't know what a mumser is? You really? You don't know, Lorraine, what a mumser is? It's an illegitimate person. We have another word for that, which I won't use. I won't use, I'm sure. There's a little boy who went to, I imagine, a Christian school, and he was, they were teaching how God created humanity, and this boy was especially paying special attention when they told him that Eve was created out of one of Adam's ribs. Later in the week, his mother saw that he was lying down as though he were ill. And she said, "What's the matter?" He said, "I have a pain in my side. I think I'm going to have a wife." Yes. All right. Yes. The fellow, as people come up to us, and we, ask for money. Sometimes we give, sometimes we don't. This man sees someone on the street. It's got a sign saying "blind man," and he puts some money in, and he said, "I knew you were kind the moment I set eyes on you." He said, "You're not blind." He said, "I'm doing this for a friend. He's gone to see a movie." That's the, that's two. Yeah, there are lots of stuff. "Hey, mister, would you give me $2 for a cup of coffee?" He said, "I won't." "Wait a minute, I just gave you 2 minutes ago." "Mister, please stop living in the past." That's this side again. Okay. This is from a long time ago when Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister in England, and Dan Quayle was the, I'm speaking of, now we're talking about intelligence here. Dan Quayle was the Vice President. And he said to Margaret Thatcher, "How do you know who's going to work well in your government?" She says, "I give him a test." For example, I said, "John Major, who is it? He's your father's son, but he's not your brother." And John Major said, "It's mine. It's me. It's me." And Dan Quayle says, "It's amazing." Anyway, I've got this all wrong. I've messed this up. I've fouled it up. I've loused it up. And I'm going to try and delouse it now. It wasn't Quayle, of course. It was Bush. It was Bush. And then he goes to Quayle. You have to be relaxed about these things. Of course, I'm dying here. And he goes to Quayle and he says, "Dan, look in the mirror. Who is it? Who's your father's son who's not your brother?" And Dan Quayle immediately says, "I have to go to the bathroom." And this thing's fallen off again. "I have to go to the bathroom." And he goes to the bathroom and he calls Kissinger, which is very interesting because cell phones hadn't been invented yet. And he asks the question. Kissinger says, "Henry." He says, "Yes." "Who is it?" "He's my father's." "Who is it?" "He's your father's son, but he's not your brother." And Kissinger says, Dan, it's me." So he goes back to Bush and he says, "I've got the answer." He says, "What?" "It's Henry Kissinger." And Bush says, "No, you idiot, it's John Major." Let me go back to that other one. A Jewish man insures his, no. I thought third time lucky. Lady dies, goes to heaven. "What's your fondest wish?" "What's your fondest wish?" Said, "To speak to Mary." This we can arrange it, but no long conversations. He says, "Listen, how did it feel when you were giving birth to you know who?" And Mary replies, No, this is not anti-Semitism. This is not the Catholic Church intervening. Now, and Mary replies in Yiddish, and she says, "Dem Emeth gesucht, haben wir gewollt am Mädel." Actually, We were hoping for a girl. Yes. There was a fellow in this synagogue years ago, no longer among us. I once came in, this is another one of the few true ones. I once came in, it was during the week, downstairs, and I said, did you hear someone won 50 million in the lottery? He looked at me, this man was never particularly happy. He looked at me and said, yeah, there's always something. Yes. All right, we're fading here, but I'll just try a few more. The rabbi says, I don't mind it when people go like this when I'm speaking. You may be feeling this way now. What I mind is when people go like this. How do you say in Yiddish, excuse me, I didn't hear what you said. Could you please repeat it? No. Huh? So if someone asks you, let's do it the other way around. If someone says to you, when someone says in Yiddish, huh, what does it mean? You say, it's very long. It means, excuse me, I didn't hear what you said, and so on. The dictionaries are supposed to go both ways. Yes, well, we better wind up. And the question is how we wind up, because I've used all the wind-ups. This is a nice one. This husband and wife are on a tour. And the plane has trouble, and it comes down on an island, remote from everywhere, and no connection. And in those days, there are no cell phones, nothing. They think they've had it. And the husband, who's obviously a nervous wreck in general, it was me, says, did we turn off the stove? She says, of course. Are the life insurance policies paid up? Of course. Did we pay our UJA pledge? Oh my God, I forgot to send the check in. Okay, they'll find us, no worries. So the last one, this man dies. I'm going to remember a whole bunch of others that I forgot now, and I've got all your phone numbers, so we'll have a call at 3 a.m. I mean, don't put on your alarm because I'm calling you. You don't have to worry. I'll get you. Yeah, no, I can do it. On my phone, I can call 40 people at once. Anyway, so he dies, and God shows him hell. And he looks around, and it's amazing. It's full of people having a wonderful time. There's a bar. There are people eating and drinking and feasting, and they're even dancing. There's a live band. So now they're actually serving kosher food down there. I just want you to think of the meaning of that, the theological meaning of kosher food in hell. And please don't use this if you go to a kosher restaurant you don't like. And a live band, that's another thing, a live band. Anyway, it's amazing. Then he shows him heaven. Goes upstairs to heaven. The big hall, 10 times the size of this, there's no one there. There's no one there. And then way over in the corner, he sees 3 old Jewish men studying Gemara. They're learning Gemara. 3 old men. He says to God, I verstehe nicht, I don't understand. Down there in hell, he said, me esst, me trinkt, me tanzt, me huljert. They're eating, they're drinking, they're dancing, they're frolicking. He says, I feel do a band. There's even a band. Then up there, 3 alte Yidden in Gurnisch, 3 old Jews and nothing. And God says to him, for 3 alte Yidden soll ich nehmen a band. For 3 old Jews, I should take a band. I should hire a band. Anyway, I thank you. And I want it. And in the name of Jackie Mason, I thank you. Wasn't that good? He stole some of my material, but I wish you well, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.